Well, never mind all that stuff, because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered. Yeah, I know, amazing. But that means it's time for...
Living your life and you're feeling low. You don't know what is true. You don't know what's true. So you quick flip through the channels to watch Sunny on The View. Oh my God, the stuff she says is dumb. Where the hell they get this woman from? She's a host who's always crass and lame, with lots of nonsense to proclaim.
Fun of The View a lot. But that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
I'm a little bit in shock. I just always thought of myself as Puerto Rican, you know, half Puerto Rican. I didn't think I was, my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah. So how are you feeling, my friend?
I think it's actually pretty interesting that my husband and I have shared roots.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that. And I think it's great for our children. Mm-hmm. To know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living, on the backs of others.
Fact of life. Interesting change of tune. For more, we go to our chief Sunny Hostin correspondent for a reaction. People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
That will go after white America and talk about them like dogs. That doesn't represent our ideals or values for anyone. And get rid of those people, and this will clear up real quick. So do you have to actually look in the mirror and clean up your own backyard and get the racist people out? Because that's who you allowed in. You allowed black racist on TV who could just go all day and say anything about white people. And I guess lo and behold, they forgot that there's a lot of people at home, white people at home during the day, that are not watching your show anymore. So just clean it up.
Yeah, you know, Emily.
Hollywood is reeling after a savage celebrity smackdown erupted on live TV. Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher just went scorched earth on The View, and the fallout is insane. What started as sharp commentary turned into an all-out verbal brawl, with both men shredding the panel in a takedown no one saw coming. Gutfeld hit hard, calling out the show's performative outrage, while Maher twisted the knife with his signature deadpan digs, leaving the co-hosts visibly rattled. Insiders say the studio was in chaos, with even Whoopi Goldberg reportedly stunned into silence. And when Whoopi's quiet, you know it's real. One source called it a daytime TV disaster, or masterpiece depending who you ask. Forget morning fluff, this was a televised celebrity cage match, and it's already sending shockwaves through the industry. Buckle up, because the drama is just getting started.
That hat that you keep wearing, that red hat that says "Make America Great Again," that tells people that you go along with this. So you might as well just put a swastika on the hat.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Because we see it anyway.
I'm not going to defend Donald Trump ever, but I would never say
that we should put the swastika on the cap, because I think you can hate Donald Trump. You can't hate everybody who likes him. It's half the country. I don't want to live in that country. I don't want to live in the country where I hate half the country, and I don't hate half the country.
How dare you disagree with me?
Daytime TV just went nuclear, and The View is ground zero. Long known for its caffeine-charged chaos and on-air feuds, The View just crossed a line into total meltdown territory. What was supposed to be another spicy segment turned into an ambush as Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher stormed in like a wrecking crew, ripping through the panel with zero mercy. Studio insiders say the energy shifted instantly. One moment, light banter. The next, pure verbal warfare. Gutfeld came in swinging, Maher followed with sniper-level sarcasm, and together, they turned the set into a pressure cooker ready to blow. Even veteran hosts were blindsided, with one source joking that not even a Nobel Peace Prize could have brokered calm today. Hypocrisy was exposed, nerves were frayed, and one thing became clear. When chaos erupts, Gutfeld and Maher don't just show up, they dominate.
Maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
In a Hollywood plot twist no one saw coming, a right-wing firebrand and a liberal icon just teamed up, not for a film, but to roast The View straight into the danger zone. Greg Gutfeld dripping with sarcasm and Bill Maher torching political correctness like it's contagious, delivered a back-to-back verbal blitz that insiders say left the studio in stunned silence. One eyewitness called it like watching sharks circle a sinking ship, then tearing it apart for fun. Gutfeld, never shy about his disdain for the panel, came in hot, treating the moment like it was personal payback. Maher didn't hold back either, slicing through the noise with brutal precision. When these two enter the daytime drama arena, it's not talk show TV anymore. It's a celebrity war zone. First of all, a few bruised egos, and whatever scraps of civil discourse. We're still hanging on.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. We're in sunny Hostin. She was on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is. She's actually the descendant of slave owners from Maher calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
Every time The View drops another jaw-dropping take, Greg Gutfeld doesn't flinch, he detonates. Industry insiders joke his signature eye rolls are now so powerful they could trigger a weather alert. But this time, Gutfeld took things nuclear. He went full-on WWE mode, calling out the show for masquerading as a debate, while sounding more like a five-way shouting match dressed up as Insight. No punches pulled. Just pure televised carnage. He torched Joy Behar for rewriting history in real time, clowned Sunny Hostin's go-to because I said so logic, and took aim at Whoopi Goldberg's whiplash-inducing hot takes, dubbing her the daytime philosopher of confusion. This wasn't just shade, this was Greg flipping the entire set upside down. Stick around, this celebrity clash is about to hit red alert.
Joy Behar gets racism after all. She's been black on Halloween. Yeah. But Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. But that is convenient, right? It's like one of my aunts dies every time Brian Kilmeade wants to hang out. Maybe Joy needs a full day to read her hate mail, and that's just from the rest of the cast.
Greg Gutfeld just dropped his most ruthless takedown of The View yet, and this roast didn't leave a single seat unscorched. To hear Gutfeld tell it, The View isn't a talk show at all. It's a chaotic group therapy session where the therapist quits mid-session and the guests are just moving targets for ideological darts. Behind the sarcasm and sniper-level jokes lies a brutal truth. Gutfeld says The View has morphed into a self-congratulatory echo chamber where alternative opinions aren't discussed, they're exiled. It's not about dialogue anymore, it's about ritual public shaming, and if you survive the sighs, smirks, and passive-aggressive jabs, pause, you might get to finish a full sentence. He wasn't done. Gutfeld shredded their so-called inclusive energy, calling it the most hostile version of inclusivity he's ever witnessed. Walk in with a conservative take, and suddenly it's not let's talk, it's let's trap, spin, and cancel. To him, it's performance activism at its worst, like a Broadway show with fewer facts and louder eyebrows. And production, also under fire. Gutfeld joked the real host isn't Whoopi or Joy. It's the teleprompter guy sweating through every segment and praying a commercial break will stop the next misinformation monologue, his final burn. That The View exists in its own parallel universe, where facts are filtered through mood swings and logic is screamed louder just to sound smarter. In Greg's world, watching The View is like scrolling a Twitter meltdown that somehow landed a TV deal, and honestly, he might be onto something.
Obviously, just the parts that you said. Did I watch a whole episode of The View?
No woman can do that unless you're stupid. But
I have a job.
Here's the thing. How can they call themselves progressives when they keep saying that nothing has progressed? Then it's on them.
Right. I just wish I could have, would have watched if I could, would have been Joy Behar watching that.
Yes.
And being like, I totally made the right call. It was not an accident that they had him there on her day off.
Yes.
When she was, presented herself as the, expert on systemic racism as a white lady.
Well, she had that one Halloween where she went as Diana Ross and she felt she was treated differently.
Just when the flames couldn't burn any hotter, in walks Bill Maher, the man who built a penthouse on Mount Contrarian and lobs truth bombs like party favors. If Greg Gutfeld is the sniper zeroing in on hypocrisy from afar, Maher's the guy who strolls right into the blast zone, smirking with a detonator in hand. He's the liberal who makes other liberals sweat, unapologetically pro-weed, pro-free speech, and allergic to political nonsense from any side. So when Maher sets his sights on The View, you know it's DEFCON 1 for daytime drama, Maher's beef. The show treats disagreement like a disease, not a spark for real dialogue. One stray opinion and boom, you're branded problematic, toxic, or as Maher loves to say, unenlightened. As he puts it, The View isn't about discussion anymore, it's about diagnosis. And the cure? A forced apology and a one-way trip to cancellation town. He didn't hold back, shredding their virtue signaling, their addiction to outrage, and their talent for turning minor topics into major meltdowns. When Maher joins the roast, it's no longer just a critique. It's a cultural intervention. The View isn't just under fire. It's under full-blown intellectual siege.
Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely...
Bill Maher just landed a direct hit on The View, and let's just say it wasn't pretty. Maher compares watching The View to a fire drill where everyone points the finger at you for the smoke. And trust us, he's not pulling any punches. Dives deep, mocking the hosts for quoting articles they clearly never read, speaking in endless hashtags, and treating emotional volume like a substitute for actual facts. While Gutfeld calls them out for faking diversity of thought, Maher goes even further, accusing them of faking intellectual curiosity altogether. His takedowns come with a smirk, as if to ask, is this really the rock bottom of TV? When a show becomes so predictable you can finish their sentences, Maher starts wondering, is this still entertainment or just a tribal cosplay convention with coffee mugs? But here's the twist. Gutfeld and Maher actually agree. These two ideological opposites, who couldn't see eye to eye on the color of the sky, somehow found common ground. And that ground reads loud and clear. The View has turned into unintentional comedy, except the jokes are flat and the punchlines think they're profit. Both men see the show as less of a talk show and more of a political performance art piece where every issue is the apocalypse and every solution is a group hug. with sharp elbows.
Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week before.
Sure.
So everybody was like, oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma. First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no fucking thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid shit on a regular basis. They just happen to coincide. But
in a shocking twist, Greg Gutfeld and Bill Maher are in total agreement, and it's all about The View's war on independent thought. Both of them are calling out the show for transforming its audience into nothing. More than cheerleaders, clapping on cue like they're at a wrestling match, not participating in a conversation. But here's the real kicker. They both agree that The View has become the one place where having a different opinion is more dangerous than showing up without makeup. Gutfeld calls it ideological theater, a stage for political performances, where only one script is allowed. Maher, he dubs it a culty brunch with commercial breaks. And honestly, they're both dead on. The hosts of The View can't stand the truth, and you can practically feel the steam rising off their mugs. Every time these clips hit the internet, every time they've tried to clap back, it's been like trying to douse a grease fire with glitter. Defensive, vague, and missing the entire point. But the internet, it didn't miss it. Viewers from both sides of the political spectrum saw something rare, agreement across the aisle, and not just that. They laughed. They laughed because the criticism was spot on. In all its preachy, self-congratulatory glory, The View had finally morphed into the very thing it loves to mock. Predictable, preachy, and painfully out of touch. And the fallout as awkwardly predictable as it gets.
remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bill Maher, who has been the standard bearer for liberalism and in many ways leftism until the woke went bananas in this last decade, but for decades, that's what this guy has represented in America. I want you to note the tone they all talk with him. I want you to look at Sonny Hostin's body language and the way they look at him and everything else. Just because he is a lefty who hasn't gone completely bananas, here they are talking.
Just like that, The View went silent. No thoughtful rebuttals, no acknowledgement, just tight smiles and a quick pivot to the next topic like they hadn't just been served a 5-course roast with a side of blistering truth. It was as if someone dropped a mirror on the table and no one dared to look into it. And here's the ultimate irony. The very show that claims to champion tough conversations couldn't handle two outsiders doing exactly that. Gutfeld and Maher didn't throw bombs. They threw facts, sarcasm, and satire. And The View? It ducked under the table, hoping the ratings wouldn't notice. But the audience? Oh, they noticed. Because when a Fox host and a liberal comic unite to roast your credibility, it's not a hit job. It's an intervention. A very public, very hilarious intervention. But let's zoom out to the bigger picture. This wasn't just about dragging a talk show. It was about exposing what happens when a platform stops listening and starts preaching. When curiosity is traded for clicks and the notion that disagreement is a threat, not a pillar of democracy. Gutfeld and Maher may never share a dinner table. They may mock each other's politics forever, but for this one glorious moment, they agreed on one thing: The View has lost the plot, and that script they're still reading from, it belongs in the recycling bin. Preferably next to the cue cards they don't even need, because they all think the same thing. And here's the kicker. Apparently Canada's throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which has made The View very unhappy. You can't make this stuff up. If The View ever wants to be taken seriously again, it's time to invite some dissent, not just for the cameras, but for the actual conversation, because when your biggest critics are funnier, sharper, and more consistent than your hosts, it's time to turn down the volume and turn up the thinking, but don't hold your breath. The only thing louder than The View's applause for itself is the deafening silence when someone challenges it. And if you think this is the last time Gutfeld and Maher roast that's set from a distance, think again. These two may not be besties, but they found a common enemy. And let's just say The View won't be sending them Christmas cards, because when the clowns start calling out the circus, you know the show's in trouble. Here's the most poetic and tragic part: when the clowns start sounding smarter than the circus, that tent's about to collapse. We're not talking about random YouTubers or Twitter trolls here. We're talking about Greg Gutfeld, the king of sarcastic takes on Fox News, and Bill Maher, the liberal king of eye rolls and verbal Molotovs. And somehow, both of these professional contrarians took one look at The View and said, yeah, that's too much. Let that sink in.
Apparently they're throwing tariffs on manatee meat and bovine semen, which means The View is very unhappy.
Oh.
You've got a conservative comedian who thinks half the country has gone woke bananas, and a progressive firebrand who hosted Politically Incorrect before cancel culture could spell its own name. And both of them just looked at The View and said, the real problem? That daytime show with coffee mugs and chaotic energy. That's not just critique anymore. That's an intervention. It's the moment you realize The View has wandered so deep into its own echo chamber that even its ideological neighbors are throwing rocks at the glass walls. And here's the kicker. These weren't originally enemies of the show. Maher once shared values with them. He used to be their sarcastic North Star. And Gutfeld, sure, he was their foil, but even foils have limits. When both of them come at you like disappointed parents watching their kid fail a group project they assigned, it's no longer satire. It's a warning shot, and you can feel it. The View has managed to push out anyone with a functioning sense of irony, or God forbid, a spine. You either nod along with the manufactured outrage, or you get side-eyed into oblivion. And here's the real twist. The guys calling them out, the ones who regularly live in political minefields, they actually sound more reasonable, balanced, and, dare we say it, normal. The show that claims to be the voice of reason has become the one, a place where a lack of reason is the real threat. Gutfeld and Maher? They're just telling it like it is. And the truth.
You look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sunny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insane.
By the way, I hope is still a friend. We can disagree with each other. Should not be canceled or put off her show, as much as I totally disagree with her crazy statement. Free speech. She should be there. She shouldn't get a timeout.
Not every single thing has to be for everybody.
Right.
We can have platforms that have stuff on them that not everyone on that platform or who consumes stuff on that platform enjoys. And The View is a particularly weird place to do a cancellation.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter. So instead, the gist? If hypocrisy
in a world where common sense is practically extinct, it took a Fox host and a libertarian comic to say what everyone else was screaming into the void. The View, it's no longer the voice of reason, it's become the screech. Loud, disjointed, flailing for relevance, and about as insightful as a Reddit thread written in all caps. But here's the final blow. If The View really wants balance, forget the usual parade of yes women and token guests. Invite Greg and Bill to co-host. Seriously, put them side by side with the regular panel and live stream it like a therapy session with no resolution. Let the viewers watch the tension rise, the eyebrows twitch, and that moral superiority crack like an iPhone screen after one drop, or better yet, save everyone the trouble and rebrand the whole thing. Call it the sigh, because that's what the audience does now. Sigh, cringe, and wonder when anyone will finally speak with some sense. Turns out that someone had to be the clowns, and somehow they made more sense than the entire circus. Stay tuned, because the circus isn't over yet.